Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia here, and welcome to the Overwatch League Roundup Play-ins Preview. So it's finally time to take a look at our first of two knockout tournaments at the end of this 2019 Overwatch League season that will decide which two teams will join the top 6 in the league to fight it out for the title of Overwatch League 2019 champions. Yes, it's time to take a look ahead at the play-ins. As you will probably know, there will be 6 teams involved in the play-ins made up of everyone ranked from 7th all the way to 12th in the final season standings. These teams are the Chengdu Hunters, the Shanghai Dragons, the Philadelphia Fusion, the Guangzhou Charge, the Seoul Dynasty, and the London Spitfire. They will compete in a single elimination bracket which will decide 2 teams to go forward and join the remaining top 6 teams in the overall playoffs. The 4 lower seeded teams will play first, and then the winners will go up against the 7th or 8th seeded teams for a chance of entry into those playoffs. With this play-ins phase comes a new patch and new map pool, which should mix things up slightly. The play-ins alongside the playoffs will be played on the patch which is currently on the live Overwatch servers. Although the Overwatch League did introduce role lock for the entirety of Stage 4, it did not contain the buffs and nerfs that were pushed to live service alongside the role queue change. This changes for the post-season, as those buffs and nerfs, along with the newest tank hero Sigma, will be available for teams to use. In this patch, it was not only Sigma that changed things, but heavy changes to Brigitte, a game-wide ultimate cost increase of 12%, and other changes to Ashe, Doomfist, Hanzo, Orisa, Reinhardt, Sombra, Symmetra Tracer, and Wrecking Ball. This could really shape things up meta-wise in the league at this very crucial time for a lot of teams. With the global ultimate cost increase, we should see more vanilla fights with less ultimates used overall, making the gameplay slightly more reliant on the skill of the individual player instead of ultimate combos. But early indications in terms of the meta suggest a double barrier tank lineup of Orisa and Sigma. I am not expecting the DPS or support roles to change too much, with perhaps an increase in Symmetra playtime due to her changes and the possible increase in double barrier comps. In terms of Brigitte, on live she seems pretty weak, so unless the pros can find a unique use case for her alter kit, then I don't expect to see much of her in this post-season. Now that we have looked at the patch and possible meta, let's take a look at the map pool available to our teams in these knockout tournaments. First of all, it is important to say that in these knockout situations, the decision of the next map to be played goes to the team that lost the previous map, much like it used to be in Apex. The first map will be chosen by the lower seeded team, and then the loser picks the next map out of the pool for that map type. They have 3 maps to choose from in each of the categories. For Control, there is the option of Lijiang Tower, Ilios, or Busan. I'm sure London are thrilled to see Ilios in the map pool after their struggles on that map throughout this season. On Assault, there is the option of a Horizon Lunar Colony, Temple of Anubis, and Hanamura. Those maps can always be a bit weird for teams and have been known to throw out some surprising results in the past, so this could be interesting. Going to Hybrid, there is the option of Numbani, Iconwald, and King's Row. We didn't see Iconwald or Numbani last stage, and I think everyone loves to see King's Row in the map pool once more. King's Row was also in the map pool for last year's playoffs and grand final. Lastly, Escort gives the teams the options of Dorado, Watchpoint Gibraltar, and Rialto. This is the first time we will have seen Gibraltar and Rialto in the postseason, as Rialto wasn't released last year, and Gibraltar was not included in last season's playoff map pool. Overall, this should be really interesting in terms of map pool, and could provide some upsets depending on the teams involved. Last year's champions London Spitfire will really need to overcome their fear of Ilios if they want to mount a serious run at this year's title. Let's move on to the matches that we are actually going to see this weekend to decide who will be taking the last 2 spots in the playoffs. The matches are all on Saturday, August the 31st, but the first 2 are not at good times for EU viewers, so yeah. Thanks for that one, Al. The first game is at 2 AM British Summer Time or 3 AM in Europe, and this will see the 12th seeded Chengdu Hunters, who scraped through after the LA Valiant couldn't find a win last week, taking on the Guangzhou Charge, our 9th seed. They had a very good Stage 4, propelling them up the league to the position they now find themselves in. Guangzhou have looked very good, and if they can carry that momentum into a potential new double barrier meta, then I think they should have enough to see off the Chengdu Hunters. The Hunters could throw some wacky stuff at the charge. As always, you never quite know what you're going to see from the Chengdu Hunters going into a new meta because, let's be honest, they've never been a team to conform to the norm, but I still think the charge should have enough to get past them in this matchup. The second quarterfinal will be the Shanghai Dragons taking on the Philadelphia Fusion, your 11th seed and 10th seed teams. This match will take place straight after the first quarterfinal at around 5 AM British Summer Time or 6 AM in Europe. The winners of the Stage 3 playoffs versus the last year's Grand Finals runners-up. But a lot has changed in a short space of time for these two teams. I actually think that both of them are the weaker teams in this initial play-ins tournament. I think the Fusion relied too much on Carpe popping off, and the Shanghai Dragons had a torrid Stage 4, picking up only one win alongside 6 losses, which sees them much less favourable in the seedings than they were a month ago. Although the Fusion have seemed very inconsistent all season long, I think they should have enough to see off the Dragons, although I expect this to be quite a close game. Also, you do have to take into account the fact that in a new meta you could see a team that finds something that really works, have a lot of success with a new style of play. This could be one of these two teams, but I still find it unlikely somehow. This then moves us on into our semi-finals, and when we find out which two teams will play in this year's playoffs alongside the top 6. The lowest remaining seed in the competition after the quarterfinals will play last year's champions, the London Spitfire, in the semi-finals for a place in the playoffs. This will take place at 8 PM British Summer Time on the Saturday, 9 PM in Europe. As you can see, there is quite a quick turnover in games if you find yourselves in that lower seeding and the quarterfinals. Now, by my predictions, London would either face Shanghai or Philadelphia, but there is one team that they can't possibly face, and that is the Guangzhou Charge, as they would have higher seeding coming out of the quarterfinals, and so would face the other team in the semi-finals, the Seoul Dynasty. With this sort of bracket, it does mean that we could see a rematch of last year's Grand Final between the London Spitfire and the Philadelphia Fusion in the play-ins, which would be quite a show. And to be quite honest, I am not sure whether I can trust London to get the job done at the moment. They have looked shaky all season and could be in a prime position to be on the receiving end of a big upset. But I'm not going to be drawn on a prediction for a game which I don't know who London are going to be even playing yet. But I would say at this point in the season, no draw is favourable. We found that out last year. The last semi-final will be the highest remaining seed, which could be anyone but the Chengdu Hunters versus the Seoul Dynasty. This will take place straight after the first semi-final at around 11 PM British Summer Time or midnight in Europe. Although Seoul are another team this season that have looked shaky at times, I think they nailed things down pretty well in Stage 4, and providing they can adjust to the potential new meta fairly well, I wouldn't have too much trouble with backing them against the likes of Shanghai or Philadelphia, despite the fact that they lost in Week 4 of Stage 4 to the Fusion. I believe they have enough quality to beat these teams, but when it comes to a potential matchup against the Guangzhou Charge, this is where I would start to become worried for the Seoul Dynasty. One thing that is on the side of the Dynasty though is playoffs experience compared to the Charge. This will be Charge's first experience of knockout competition in the Overwatch League, as they have never featured in any of our stage playoffs. However, the Seoul Dynasty have been to 2 stage playoffs this year, and although they haven't managed to take the ultimate prize home, they did manage to knock out the NYXL in this year's Stage 1 playoffs, so they have more experience in this sort of environment compared to the Charge. Ultimately, I can sit here and make all the assumptions I like, but when it comes to the crunch, the golden rule is, when it comes to knockout, winner takes all tournaments. Anything can happen. Really, anything can happen. Upsets are on the cards when it comes to knockouts. In this coming playoff phase of the season, the new meta could have a massive impact on which teams prove stronger than others, just like it did last season. But isn't that what Overwatch is all about? We will see which team can adjust to the best to the new strategies being played and overcome what the other teams throw at them. That is ultimately the signs of a great team. This week is going to be super interesting. Remember that the new Winston Champion skin for the London Spitfire will be going live on the 29th, so get it if you want it because it won't be around forever. I will be back with the results next week and a preview to the overall playoffs. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.